Fortunately, not able to meet last week because there was a conflict. Guru Maharaj had a call.
The recording has started.
Okay. So we will continue with our discussion of the Bhagavatam. We were kind of halfway through 1.1.1, and we'll continue with that. Shanvatam sukatha Krishna punyashavana kirtanam hridayantastu bhadrani vidunoti suhutsatam nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki om ajnanatirminandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapristhaya Bhutale Srimati Rumpaswamiti Namane. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadi Shetarane. Okay, so just for a quick recap, we had kind of broken up the first verse into 12 subcomponents, and we were speaking about them one by one. So we had done the first 6, I believe, and the first 7. Well, no, sorry, the first 8. So I'll quickly recap them for the sake of continuity and then proceed from the 9th one. So the verse, so this is the first verse, first canto, first chapter, Janmadiyasyato Navayaditaratas Chartishvavadyasvarat. So it starts with the invocation, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And that establishes the ashraya. That establishes the whole purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Samam Bonam. What is the purpose of the Bhagavatam? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. And as we mentioned, that Bhagavatam successively unfolds. So it unfolds into the remaining part of the verse. So the next verse is Janmadi Asyayato, which translates to from whom the creation and destruction of the manifested universes. So Janma Adi, Janma means creation, Adi means etc., which the Acharyas translate as creation, sustenance and destruction. So, having established the context that we are speaking about Krishna, this talks about begins to talk about the characteristics of Krishna, and we had also discussed how this correlates Srimad Bhagavatam to Vedanta Sutras, because in the Vedanta Sutra, the first aphorism is Atato Brahma Jigyasa, the second is Janmadiyasya Yato. That where does all this come from? And the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered to be a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutras, both written by the same author, Srimad Bhagavatam, now answers this question. That from whom this creation, maintenance and sustenance happens. Navayat itaratas charteshva abhigya. So this translates to directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestation, And it basically establishes the role of Krishna, not just from the purpose of creating, maintaining, and destroying, but also being fully aware of it. Also, the fact that Prabhupada gives the example that just like within a body, the soul is fully aware of everything that is going on within the body. And he gives the example that if you pinch the body, then immediately you are aware of where the body is being pinched. So similarly, Krishna, he does not just create and let it go. He actually enters into the creation and is fully aware of each and every aspect of it. The next is Swarat. Swarat means independent. It also means unaffected. So one might say that all this is being done by Krishna: creation, sustenance, destruction, also the fact that he's permeating each and every aspect of the creation. How does that affect him? And the answer is Swarat, that he remains independent of any impact. It also talks about the fact that Krishna is not dependent in any way on anyone. So if you remember, we opened up the verse, or Srila Vyasadeva opened up the verse with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That let us give obeisance to Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. So one might ask that if Krishna is the son of Vasudeva, then he is dependent on Vasudeva. We are dependent on our father for existence. If our father was not there, we would not be there. And if our father's father was not there, then our father would not be there. So there is a certain amount of causal dependence that's going on. And in order to address this implicit question, Srila Vyasadeva is Swarat, that he is not dependent. This is just part of his Leela. That is why Krishna does not take birth, but he appears. So we take birth because we are forced by the cycle of karma to take birth. Krishna is Swarat, he's independent. He appears because he wants to. We don't get a choice to choose our parents. Krishna chooses his parents, and he gives them the service of being the parents when he appears. So that is why he is Swarat. Then Tene Brahma Vidyadi Kavya, which means that the source of all knowledge. So one might say that, but as far as I know, this universe is created by Brahma. This is actually a question that later on in the Bhagavatam, Narad Muni asks Lord Brahma, that I see that you are doing all the creation, and he starts glorifying Brahma as the personality of Godhead. And at the time, Brahma actually gets very upset at Narad Muni, and he says that I've told you so many times, and you're still speaking in this foolish way, that actually I am simply dependent on somebody else. And then he proceeds to glorify Krishna. So this addresses that issue, that Tere Brahma Hridaya Adi, that yes, Brahma is the creator, but he is the secondary creator. He is dependent on Krishna, who is Swarat, who is fully independent. Muyanti Yat Surya, source of all illusion. So then why do people not worship Krishna? Why do people still worship demigods? Why do people still consider Brahma to be the father of the universe? So Muyanti Yat Surya. Because of Krishna, Surya refers to the Srila Prabhupada translates as the demigods and the sages. So the demigods, they get their powers through pious activities. The sages, they get their powers through either knowledge or through mystics, through austerities, or through yogic practices. So Karam, Gyan, and Yoga. So even people who are advanced in these three, they are put into illusion because of the influence of Krishna. So what to speak of lesser mortals like the human beings? And what is the exact mechanism of that illusion? How does this machine for creating illusion work that Krishna has created? Tejo Vari mratham yatha vinimayo. By the interaction of the material elements like fire, water, and earth. So when Krishna creates this material universe, these elements, they interact with one another. And by this interaction, this illusion is created. That we look at the earth and we think that the earth is providing with us with all our needs. Or we look at a body that is created out of the Panch Mahabhuta, and then we think that the body is our self. And what is it that actively helps in completing this illusion? Yatra Trisargo. So the modes of material nature. Trisargo, the three modes of material nature, they are actively working. One of the first things that enter into the pradhan when the universe is being created is the three modes of material nature, and they are there to complete the illusion. So we had spoken about these points in much more detail. Of course, I'm just speaking in summary. So we'll now continue with the subsequent discussion on the verse. So the next phrase that appears is mrasha. So tejo vari yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrasha. So mrasha means appears factual. So by the potency of Krishna, all these illusions, yatra trisargo mrasha, they appear to be factual. Mrasha means that appears factual. So this is an important point in the verse where the flow is transitioning from material to spiritual. So if you notice, the translation that is used is appears factual. It does not translate to is not factual. So when we use the word appears factual, it means that there is something factual somewhere else, and then this looks like it. So Srila Prabhupada he uses the analogy of a mirage, which is a very apt analogy in several ways, because a mirage, I haven't ever personally seen a mirage myself, but my understanding is that in the desert, if it is very hot and you look into the horizon, then you will see water because of the influence of the heat and etc. etc. It appears that there is water there. So that's the nature of the mirage, that it shows you something that is not there. But why are people attracted by the mirage? Because they know that the water is that substance that will quench their thirst. So water exists. The only thing is that the mirage gives us an imaginary representation of water. So similarly, the material world, everything that is seen in the material world exists. But what we actually see in the material world is an imaginary representation of it. So what are we aspiring for in the material world? We're aspiring for eternal life. If you look at the lives of people who have done, or at least demoniac people who have done intense austerities, one of the first things they will ask for is immortality. And even in contemporary times, one of the main meditations of science is how to extend one's lifespan. So everybody wants to be immortal. What else are we looking for in the material world? Happiness. Everybody is looking for happiness in one way or the other. Now, all this exists in their real form in the spiritual world. That is why we are looking for it. If they did not exist, then why would we even look for it? If we were not aware of water, why would we get attracted to a mirage? Because the mirage was showing something that we completely could not relate to, then we would just look at it, shrug, and move away. But when we look at it and we see water, then we say, aha, this is something that I know that will quench my thirst, because that's the intrinsic property of water. Similarly, we are at a soul level very much connected to our need for immortality. The soul does not know death; it is deathless. The soul does not know any does not know fear. The soul does not know anguish or agony. The soul is Satchit Anand. It is happy. So it has tasted all that, and it is looking for the same thing, but in the wrong place. Then some other and different acharyas, they kind of milk this analogy for more mellows out of it. So the nature of a mirage is that it is always a little bit beyond your reach. So as you approach the mirage, it will be right there, but you will never be able to reach it, which is the nature of the material world. You keep thinking that if I do this, I'll be happy. If this happens, then I'll be satisfied. But the mirage keeps moving away. And the mirage is shimmering. It is constantly changing. And that is the nature of the material world. That today, this thing makes us happy. Tomorrow, another thing will make us happy. Today, this thing is a cause of our anguish. Tomorrow, another thing is the cause of our anguish. So, Srila Prabhupada, in a lecture, this was a lecture on 1 to 9, where he talked about this. So the verse is, or the first line of the verse is Dharmasya Haya Apavarasya, which means Dharma is meant for liberation. And Srila Prabhupada, he analyzes Apavargasya. He says that there are 5 vargas in it: Pa, Fa, Ba, Bha, and Ma. So Pa means parishram, effort. Fa means fena, which is foaming at the mouth. Ba means byarth, which is useless. Bha means bhaya, which is fearfulness. And Ma means mrityu, which is death. So Prabhupada says that the material world, it runs around these 5 vargas. That men work hard, parishram, and they work so hard that they're foaming at the mouth. But they're not able to get what they're looking for. So the next comes is vyartha, which is frustration. And this culminates into bhaya, fear. Fear that whatever you have will be taken away, and fear that what you aspire to get, you will not get. And then it ends with mrityu. Everything finish and everything starts again. So this is the description of Chapal Shuk. So Krishna's smile is considered to be the illusionary energy of the material world. Durga Devi is considered to be the illusory energy, but when the Virat Rupa is described, then it is said that Krishna's smile is the illusory energy, and the souls that are attracted by Krishna's smile, they are then trapped under Krishna's teeth, which is personified by Yamadev, or death personified. The 10th is Dhamna Swena Sada, which means eternal. So if you look at the flow in the verse, the Mrasha is the fulcrum where the flow switches from material to spiritual. So everything before that is the material world. Janmadiyasya yato. This obviously refers to the material world, because in the spiritual world there is no Janmadiyasya yata. Then Brahmanidya Adi Kavya. Adi Kavya is Lord Brahma. He is only there in the material world. Tejovari Mritam Yata Vinimayo Yatrati Sargo. 3 modes of material nature. Tejovari Mritam. All the material existence. Now Mrasha says that it appears, because of Krishna, it appears factual. So then one might say that if this is appearing factual, then what is the real factual? And then Srila Vyasadeva says, okay, let me tell you about that. He says, Dhamna Swena Sada. So now he starts describing the spiritual world. And what is the spiritual world? That is Krishna. Krishna with his devotees, Krishna with all his paraphernalia, and with the holy dhams. So in the Brahma Samhita, there is a very eloquent verse. It's the last verse in the recitable Brahma Samhita. Shriyakanta Kanta, Shriyakanta Kanta, Parma Purusha Kalpa, Tarovar, Dhruma Gumis Chintamani, Ganamani Toyam Amritam. It has a very nice description of the spiritual world. I just want to read it out to you. I worship the transcendental seat known as Swetadeep, whereas loving consorts, the Lakshmis, in their unalloyed spiritual essence, practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover. Where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is the purpose gem, all water is nectar, and every word is a song, and every step is a dance. The flute is a favorite attendant. Effulgence is full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty. Where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away, even for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Golok only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. So that is Dhamna Swena Sada, a description of the spiritual world. So this is our destination. This is where the Srimad Bhagavatam wants to take us. And Srimad Bhagavatam does not, so like a travel guide, it will give you the destination, and it will also give you the best way to go there. And not only that, it is also your traveling companion. At every step on the way, it is there guiding you and encouraging you how to reach your destination. So in the preface, Srila Prabhupada says, the only qualification one needs to study this great book of transcendental knowledge is to proceed step by step, cautiously, and not jump forward haphazardly as with an ordinary book. It should be gone through chapter by chapter, one after another. The reading matter is so arranged with the original Sanskrit text, its English transliteration, synonyms, translation, and purports, so that one is sure to become a God-realized soul at the end of finishing the first 9 cantos. The 10th canto is distinct from the first 9 cantos because it deals directly with the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One will be unable to capture the effects of the 10th canto without going through the first 9 cantos. This book is complete in 12 cantos, each independent, but it is good for all to read them in small installments, one after another. So, while Srimad Bhagavatam is offering itself to be a traveling guide, Srila Prabhupada is cautioning that we use it properly. And you can imagine that, I don't know if some of you were there maybe 10 years ago, when in order to travel, we used to take this AAA triptychs, I think, triptychs. And they would give us in a ring binder and several maps with different levels of details. And then as you travel, you would flip from one map to another, second to third. If it was a long distance travel, you might get 7 or 8 maps, and you would just flip them over. But in order to navigate correctly, you would have to go from map 1 to 2 to 3. Not that you start from 6, go back to 1, then come to 2, and then 5. So Srila Prabhupada is cautioning us that the Srimad Bhagavatam has been constructed for a particular purpose. And he specifically mentions the 10th canto because a lot of people do have the propensity of jumping straight to the 10 cantos. The 10 canto is relishable for a reason, that it relates directly to the to the pastimes of Krishna, including the rasa dance. And the professional reciters, they tend to focus on the 10th canto, and the sahijyas, they will only read, and that also the chapters that deal with the rasa dance. But we, as followers of Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is recommended for us by Srila Prabhupada, and he makes this point several times in the first canto, not so much later on, but several times in the first canto, that please read systematically. Don't jump around. At one point he says, don't jump around like a monkey on different branches of a tree. So different times he'll make this point, and his desire is that we are able to get the most out of the work that he has done, that he has taken Srila Vyasadeva and Sukadeva Goswami's offering and made it palatable for us. So he's almost begging us that we use it in the way that it is intended. And he does promise us, he says that if you go through the first 9 cantos, you will meet Krishna in the 10th canto. So that is the Ashirvad that Krishna is giving us. That is the Falstuti. That if you follow my instructions, this is what you will get. And if Srila Prabhupada says, it will definitely happen. So some people ask this question, that why did Srila Prabhupada write the Krishna book, which is essentially a summary of the 10th canto. And a couple of reasons. One, of course, is that Srila Prabhupada did not really know how much time he had. He was old, his health was not very good. So when he wrote the summary of the 10th canto in the Krishna book, he included a lot of philosophy that was developed in the first 9 cantos. So for those of you who have read the 10th Krishna book, I remember when I read it, I was a little surprised. I was expecting it to be Krishna's pastimes and about Krishna's naughtiness and Krishna's killing demons, which is all there. But if you notice, Srila Prabhupada has put in a lot of philosophy in it. At one point, I used to read the Krishna book to my son every day, and then I realized that it is difficult for him to understand, because there is Srila Prabhupada has put, and in a way, the Krishna book is also a protection. That if somebody does want to go straight to the 10th canto and reads the Krishna book, then Srila Prabhupada has put in a fair bit of philosophical background in approaching Krishna. So the next phrase is, so we did Dhamna Svena Sada. The next phrase is Nirasta Kuhakam, free from all illusion. So for one thing, Vyasadeva is comparing the material world to the spiritual world. He just mentioned that the material world is a place of illusion, and he's saying, in contrast, the spiritual world is free from illusion. So Nirasta Kuhakam means that there is no illusion. It does not mean that the illusion is negated. It does not mean that the illusion is countered. It means that there is no illusion. That illusion is absent over there. So the nature of the illusory energy of Krishna is Maya Devi is not present in the spiritual world. However, she is present as Yoga Maya. But the understanding is that the influence of Yoga Maya is not illusory, at least in the context that this word is used in this verse. So illusion in this word is used wherein one mistakes material things for spiritual things. So that is not the effect of illusion in the spiritual world. Yoga Maya's effect is that it increases the sweetness of the relationship between Krishna and the devotees. So one person may cheat another person and extract some money. That is one form of illusion. Or a father, he might get down on his knees and his hand, and he would tell his son that I'm a horse. you get on my horse. And the son gets on the horse and says, giddy up, and the father runs all around the room. That's another kind of illusion. But the difference is that the second one is increasing the pleasure of the relationship. And the first one is destroying it. So, nirasta kuhakam, no illusion in the spiritual world. And the last is satyam param dhimai. So then one may ask, okay, Vyasa, you have established Krishna as the Ashraya. You have told that the material world is a place of illusion. It is temporary. It is only manifested by the interaction of the three modes of material nature. You have talked about the spiritual world, free of illusion, eternal place of happiness. So, what to do? What would you like us to do? So, Vyasadeva says, Satyam Param Dhimai. So, Srila Prabhupada says that Satyam Param can only point to Krishna. So the verse starts with Krishna and it ends with Krishna. So Prabhupada says that Satyam means, so Param means God as controller. So Param is opulence, the greatest. So that is Krishna as the controller of everything. And Satyam is Krishna's Swarup. That is Krishna as the absolute truth. So Satyam Param refers to Krishna, the absolute truth, the source of everything. And Dhimahi means that you meditate. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 10-26, when the demigods are glorifying Krishna in the Garbhastuti, they used the Satya as a glorification of Krishna 9 times in the verse. So it's a nice verse to it sounds like a Vedic mantra, and it's a nice verse to read. But the point that is made here is that Satya refers to Krishna, and Satyam Param refers to Krishna, the absolute truth. So Dhimahi is the first instruction that is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that meditate on Krishna. It is also the last instruction that is given in the Bhagavatam. So in the 12th canto, 13th chapter, verse 19, the same instruction is given, that Dhimahi, one should meditate on Krishna. So from that we understand that the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is Dhimahi. The purpose of the Bhagavatam is that we meditate on Krishna. Just like Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, it starts with Dharma and it ends with Dharma. The first verse is Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetra. So it starts with Dharma. And in the 18th chapter, I think it's verse 70. So this is the last instruction given by Krishna to Arjuna. And he says, Dharmayam samvadam ayo. That one who hears this conversation of Dharma worships me with his intelligence. So by that we know that Bhagavad Gita is a book of Dharma. And what is Dharma? Dharma is to understand your relationship with Krishna. It is established on Sambandha Gyan, just like Srimad Bhagavatam is established on Abhiday. So after having understood your relationship with Krishna, after having understood what your Dharma is, what do? You execute it. So after having understood that Krishna is God in Bhagavad Gita, what do? You meditate on Krishna, and this is what the Srimad Bhagavatam will ask us to do. So in the Sandarbhas, Jiva Goswami, he mentions that Dhimahi is in plural, which means that Srila Vyasadeva, he is also inviting all of us to join in the meditation of Krishna. So, so like when a mother gives obeisances in the temple, and she may have a child in the hand, she may have a child on the back, a child in the belly. When she goes down and gives obeisances, everybody goes and gives obeisances. The child in the arm, child in the belly, the child on the shoulder. So that is our relationship with Srila Prabhupada and Srila Vyasadeva. So when Srila Vyasadeva is saying Satyam Param Dhimahi, that I meditate on the Lord, then he is actually inviting us to join him. And this notion of being connected to the parampara, you'll see it begins from this verse and it becomes very strong in the as we go, especially in the Mangalacharan verses, but also the underlying theme of being connected to a parampara is very, very strong in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it actually begins from Dhimahi. Jiva Goswami says that the plural Dhimahi means that one has to be connected to the parampara in order to successfully meditate on Krishna. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he explains another reason why Dhimahi is placed, and he says that Dhimahi also appears in the Gayatri mantra. So by placing Dhimahi in this verse, Srila Vyasadeva, he is indicating that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a commentary on the Gayatri. And because the Gayatri is only available to highly qualified Brahmins, so nowadays we see Gayatri is available everywhere. People are playing it on if you go to Vrindavan, and the person who's selling sugarcane juice, they will have Gayatri mantra praying. So it's basically become cheap. But in the Vedas, there is a lot of preconditions and qualifications that are attached before one can chant Gayatri. And Srila Prabhupada says that by putting Dhimahi in this verse, Srila Vyasadeva is saying that the same conditions now also apply to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'll just read this paragraph. It's a nice purport Prabhupada writes. They're all nice, but this is especially sweet. Prabhupada says, this subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated persons who have gradually attained to the stage of Paramhansa can transcendently relish the rasa dance. Srila Vyasadeva therefore gives the reader the chance to gradually develop spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, he purposely invokes the Gayatri mantra Dhimahi. This Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. When one is successful in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahmanical qualities to be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra and then attain to the stage of transcendently realizing the Lord, His name, fame, qualities, and so on. So here again we see the focus on parampara, that one cannot get the Gayatri unless one is taken shelter of a guru. And Srila Vyasadeva, he is eager to establish this notion of parampara, and he also wants to demonstrate how he is connected to the parampara, because so Vyasadeva has one hand up by which he is getting mercy, and he has one hand down by which he is giving us mercy. So that is how the parampara works. So like I said, we'll see this theme repeatedly. We'll see that when Sutta Goswami speaks, he will establish his credibility through his connection to the parampara. Same thing will happen when Sukadeva Goswami, same thing will happen with Srila Vyasadeva over and over, same thing happens with Narad Muni. So this theme of that the Srimad Bhagavatam is not a mundane piece of philosophy that one can conquer through mere academics. So connected to a parampara means that one is a practicing devotee, and that is what will really give access to Srimad Bhagavatam. So the question here, of course, is then what is the hope for us? That are we Paramhansas? Are we at the point where we are fully, even though many of us are Brahman initiated and we are chanting Gayatri, but are we actually really qualified to chant the Gayatri? And most of the time the answer will be no. So, but that doesn't mean that we give up hope and not read the Srimad Bhagavatam. What it means is that we more firmly anchor ourselves in shelter. We more strongly take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. We more strongly take shelter of Srila Vyasadeva, and that is what will, that mood of surrender will accommodate for all our lackings. So we'll quickly go over the how the verse establishes the flow in the Bhagavatam. So it starts with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. So we know that this is the purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So really speaking, the Bhagavatam can end over here. Srila Vyasadeva can tell us that worship Krishna, who is the son of Vasudeva. And then one can say, yes, I will do it without any reservations, and Bhagavatam is finished. But the nature is that because we are ourselves conditioned, it is difficult for us to accept instructions completely. So we require clarification. So then one would say that, so you're saying that the Krishna is God, but how do we know he is God? What are his characteristics? So then Vasudeva is Janmadhyasyato, that he is the cause of all creation, sustenance and destructions. Navayaditaratas charteshva bhigya, that he is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. Swarat, he is independent. Tene brahmanidya adi kaviya, that he is the source of all knowledge to everyone. So Vyasadeva is giving us the qualities that if we apply, then only one person can satisfy those qualities, that is Krishna. But then we are still not satisfied. We say that, but we have a doubt that if Krishna is everywhere, creating, destroying, source of all knowledge, why don't we see Krishna? Because of his illusory powers, Vyasadeva says. And how powerful are his illusory powers? Great sages and devas are put into illusion by it. Muyanti yat surya. By his illusory powers, this temporarily material worlds are manifested. Tejo vari mritham yatha vinimayo. And because of the illusory powers, that which is false appears to be real. Yatrati sargo. And by him a mirage appears real, though it is an illusion, a marsha. So then we would say expand on it. Tell us that how is Krishna's abode different from what you have described as the illusory world. So then Vyasadeva says, Dhamna Svena Sada, that it is eternal, nirastakuvakam, free from all illusions. So then we say, okay, what would you like us to do? And Vyasadeva says, Satyam Param Dhimahi, meditate on this absolute truth. So this is how the Srimad Bhagavatam will flow. Not necessarily in the same sequence, but these are the topics that will be covered in the Bhagavatam. The Krishna will be described. His opulences in the material world will be described. The illusions which stop us from seeing Krishna will be described. Krishna's spiritual world will be described, and the way to attain Krishna will also be described. So the Srimad Bhagavatam we had mentioned is considered to be a commentary on the Gayatri, and I will not spend. I'm not sure why this line is coming. For some reason, there is a line coming, but anyway, it's not causing too much of interference. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the table, but the acharyas have done this analysis of how this verse 1.1.1 is actually Gayatri. And because the Bhagavatam is the verse, transitively we can understand that the Bhagavatam is also Gayatri. So Gayatri starts with, now we know we're not supposed to chant Gayatri in open, but my understanding is that, for discussions amongst devotees, it is not considered to be an offense. So Gayatri starts with Om, which is the Mahavakya or the invocation which maps to Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which means, O son of Vasudev, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Then the next is Bhur Bhava Suha. So the Gayatri again has, and what is presented over here is one of the meanings. So Gayatri again, it is a it is a verse that can be churned for hundreds and thousands of meanings. So it could represent, the Bhur Bhava Suha can represent the three modes of material nature and the three states of existence. So here it is being used in the context of the three planetary systems, Bhur Bhava Suha, which translates to Yatratri Sargo Mrisha, whereupon the three modes of creation. Then the next phrase in the Gayatri is Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo. So in the Gayatri, Om Bhur Bhava Suha is considered to be invocation. And Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo is considered to be Sambandha. And that translates to Satyam Param and Swarat. Then Devasya Dhimahi is Abhidaya. Then let us meditate on that divinity, which translates to Dhimahi in the verse. And Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya, it is with our intellect. And that translates to Tene Brahma Hridaya. Also it translates to Dhimahi. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he analyzed this verse, he said that Dhimahi is both Abhidaya and Prayojan. So it is the means and the end. Like we said, the holy name is the means and the end. The purpose of chanting is to chant more. So similarly, Dhimahi is we meditate, and the result of that meditation is that we meditate, that we are able to meditate more, which in the present day of Kali is chanting. So we chant, and the prayojan, the result of that chanting is that we chant some more. So this is the end of the first verse, and I'll stop over here briefly. I'll give 15 minutes at the end for question answers, but there is obviously a lot of information, so I'll stop here briefly and see if there's any questions.
Pen only. Oh, Krishna.
So I don't think that was a question. So some of the questions that when I was reading the purport that came up, and I can just briefly discuss with you. So in the fourth para of the purport, it is said that all living beings, Srila Prabhupada says that, all living beings beginning from the first created being, Brahma, down to the smallest ant, are individual beings, individual living beings. And above Brahma, there are even other beings with individual capacities. So the question, of course, that comes here is that in this material world, who are the living beings who are above Brahma? And so Prabhupada writes, does not write about it or does not speak about it directly in this context, but in different lectures he says that Krishna is never alone. So if you remember that when the material world is created, then Garbhodaksha Vishnu enters. But Garbhodaksha Vishnu does not enter alone. There are devas who are at a higher level. They could be considered as prototype devas or the original devas, who are assisting Garbhodaksha Vishnu in his womb. So they are the ones who help Brahma, and they are the one who are helping Vishnu in the process of the creation. They could also be spiritually perfected souls. So then the question that comes is where Srila Vyasadeva got the Bhagavatam from Narad. Where does Narad get it from? And at the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that Narnarayan Rishi explained to Narad. It is also said that Narad got the Chatushloki from Brahma. So because Bhagavatam is Bhagavatam, and it is relished by all beings, so Narad, in his conversation with different exalted entities, was given this Bhagavatam, which he then gave to Srila Vyasadeva. One of the question is that is Srila Vyasadeva agreeing with the Mayavadis that the world is illusion? And the answer is, of course, no. The difference between the illusion that the Mayavadis talk about is that it is not based on any reality. That Jagat Mithya and Brahma Satya. They say the whole world is an illusion. What Srila Vyasadeva is saying is that the illusion in this material world is based on the reality in the So there's a difference in what the basis of the illusion is. And essentially the Mayavadis, even when they negate the material world, they still want to enjoy. They want to enjoy in the Brahman. So Srila Prabhupada would say that the materialists, they want to enjoy in this material world. They want to become a king, so they are muras. But the Mayavadis, they want to become God. So he said they are Mahamuras. Okay, so that is the end of the first verse. And if there are no questions, we can continue with the second verse.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Gaur Sundar Das.
Hare Krishna
Please
Prabhu.
accept my humble obeisances.
Jai.
The end of this first the acharyas in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, they gave devotional service instead of meditation, which is more of a Ashtanga yoga practice. And even Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Manmana Bhavamat Bhakto. There is activity of devotional service mentioned. So why is it that Vyasadeva is talking about meditation at the end? Why is he not talking about the practical devotional service?
So it's a good question. Srila Prabhupada later on will mention that the beauty of the Bhagavatam is that it is to be understood, it allows itself to be understood based on Kal, Desh and Patra. So Vyasadeva was speaking the Bhagavatam specifically for us, for people in the age of Kali, where meditation is not available as an option. So while he has spoken Dhimahi, then he will relate the Dhimahi to the process of chanting. And that happens in the first chapter itself. When the sages start glorifying the Krishna, they link this process of meditation to chanting. So Dhimahi in itself is a placeholder that meditate on Krishna. How do you meditate on Krishna? You can meditate by going to a jungle and sitting or standing on one leg like Dhruva Maharaj did, or you could do what Haridas Thakur did, that he would sit in his hut and he would chant. So for the age of Kali, the Dhimahi that is mentioned is attainable through the process of chanting of the holy name.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, so we'll go to the
me.
One dot, 1.2. Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vidyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayo moolanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Kritakim Vaparerishvaraha Sadhyo Hridyavarudyate Atra Kritabi Shushurushabhi Tatshanat, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality is distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established in the heart. So this is the second verse of the Mangalacharan. That is, the focus of the first verse was understanding who Krishna is and what is our relationship. Even though Dhimahi, which is the last word, does talk about Abhiday and Prayojan, the focus on this verse is Abhiday. That what do you do? What is the Bhagavatam asking you to do? The first thing that it is asking you to do is Dharma Projita Kayatava Atra Parmo. Completely rejecting all religious activities that are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth. So what is the relationship between the Bhagavatam and the subject that it is talking about? So it is Projita Dharma Kayatava. It is rejecting the cheating religion and the Atra Parmo. And it is propounding the highest truth. So later on we'll see that when Srila Vyasadeva was feeling distressed, the Narad Muni came, and in the mood of the Guru, he chastised him. And he said that in the name of religion, you have misled people, you have not glorified Krishna directly. So Srila Vyasadeva, being a faithful disciple, he immediately wants to correct these two things. So in the first verse, he corrected the first thing that Narad Muni chastised him about. He says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He's not talking about Lord Shiv or Parvati Devi or Durga Devi or Lord Ganesh. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That directly is talking about Krishna. In this verse, that he is rejecting everything else other than that which leads us to Krishna. Dharma Projita Kaitabo. So in effect, he's rejecting the Vedas that he himself has compiled. Because 99% of the Vedas don't lead one to Krishna. They lead one to Devas, they lead one to the Upanishads, lead one to the Brahman, and he is saying that is cheating Dharma Kaitava. So he is saying this Bhagavad Puran is completely rejecting all the Dharma Projita Kaitava. So this verse is also significant because it establishes a relationship between Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the Bhagavad Gita ends with Sarvadharma Pratyajaya. So Krishna is saying, abandon all varieties of religion. What is Srimad Bhagavatam saying? That Dharma Projita Kaitava. After having rejected all varieties of religion. So we can understand that the Bhagavatam begins from where the Bhagavad Gita ends. So one of the questions, and this is a question that is asked for both the verses. It's asked in 1866 also, that why is Krishna saying that Sarvadharma Pratyajaya? And when Krishna himself, he he says, I'm the cause of the religion. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam later on, he will say this, that Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. That it has actually been manifested by me. In the Manu Smriti, it is said that dharma eva hato hanti dharma rakshati rakshita. Tasma dharmo na hantavyo mano dharmo hato vade. The dharma eva hato hanti. You harm religion, religion will harm you. Dharma rakshati rakshita. You protect religion by following it, religion will protect you. Tasmat eva na dharmas. Tasmat dharma na hantavyo. That is why do not harm religion. Mano dharma hato vade. And you will not be harmed by religion. So there is so much of emphasis given on following religious practices within the scriptures itself. And why is then Vyasadeva beginning and Krishna ending Bhagavad Gita saying that reject the religion? So in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 191, this verse is actually given there. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he writes that there are two kinds of cheating that is done by dharma. There is gross cheating and subtle cheating. So dharma, that ang of dharma that propounds karma, that by doing pious activities one will lead a happy life, that is gross cheating, because it is ultimately going to feed you back in the cycle of birth and death. That part of dharma, which is gyan and astang, which says that follow this path, is subtle cheating. Why? Because it is giving you a path, but it is not clear about the destination. What happens when you follow the path of gyan? What happens when you follow the path of astang? You go to Brahmalok. What happens? You go to Janlok, Taplok. What happens after that? You go to the impersonal Brahman. What happens after that? So there is no definite goal that is given. It's like somebody coming to you and asking you to do ugra karma, intense endeavor, and then you say, what happens at the end of it? He says, gee whiz, I don't know. And but convinces you to do it. So that is the subtle form of cheating. So Srila Vyasadeva, he's asking us to reject this part, those angas of dharma that are cheating us in a gross or a subtle way. So a point to note over here is that adharma is not being spoken about over here. So that is not even on the radar. So people who are following sinful lives, so when Srila Vyasadeva says Kaitava dharma, it is not adharma. It is dharma. Dharma is given in the scriptures, but that is cheating us in the gross and the subtle way. One should not understand this as Srila Vyasadeva saying that do not do sinful activities. He is taking that as an implicit assumption for one who is coming to read the Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada says that in this age of Kali, there are so many cheating religions, so many gods. Some say, I am God. Some say, I am God, but I forgot. Some say, we are all God. Some will say, I will merge with God. But none of them are giving you the real picture. So when Srila Prabhupada was, this is in 1967, when he had started Matchless Gifts, so there were some people from the East Village Center, and he was interviewed by them, and they published an article. Title of it is God Lives or Save Earth Now. It's a big article, and I just want to read some excerpts for it. Very interesting. Of how, so what was most interesting to me was how in one interview, Srila Prabhupada was able to explain to them what is the essence of Krishna consciousness. And of course, these were people in the 60s, so they wrote it in their own way. So the article goes as, once upon a time, a bunch of theologians jumped a poor old man in a darkened church, bashed his head in, and left him for dead. The next morning, the press was running long obituaries which identified the corpse as being that of the late beloved god. Some people, however, did not believe the story. So they went to the graveyard, secretly exhumed the corpse, and to their relief found that it was a case of mistaken identity. For reposing in glorious decomposition in the golden casket was not the body of God, but that of his PR man, organized religion. And the article goes on to say that everybody started looking for God. Where is God? Where is God? So while all this was going on, an old man, 1 year past, is allotted 70. So a score is 20. So 70 is 70. So 1 year passed. So Srila Prabhupada at the time was 71 years old, wandered in the New York's East Village and set about to prove to the world that he knew where God could be found. In only 3 months, the man, Swami A.C. Bhaktivedanta, succeeded in convincing the world's toughest audience, bohemians, acid heads, potheads, and hippies, that he knew the way to God. Turn off, sing out, and fall in. This new brand of holy man, with all due deference to Dr. Leary. So Dr. Leary is the person who was the inventor of LSD. So with all deference to Dr. Leary, has come forth with a branch of consciousness expansion that's sweeter than acid, cheaper than pot, and non-bustable by fuzz. How is all this possible? Through Krishna, Swami says. In order to convince more people that the way is through Krishna consciousness, the Swami and his followers have begun to sing the Kirtan in Tompkins Square Park every Sunday afternoon. There in the shadow of Hovings Hill, God lives in trance-like dance and chant. It's a very interesting article that they could understand, or Srila Prabhupada in this short interview was able to tell them on the basis of the Bhagavatam that he knew. And Srila Prabhupada would say that other religions might tell you that there is God, but I can tell you what God looks like. What does he wear? Where does he live? I can tell you the name of his girlfriend. I can tell you the name of his parents. I can tell you that at what time of the day, what is he going to be doing. And that is because of the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. I also found it interesting that they mentioned that the way to God is turn off, sing out, and fall in. And in the Bhagavatam, it is also mentioned that, so this is verse 1 to 7. I forget the verse, but basically it talks about three things. Janatyashu vairagyam jnanam chata ahitukam. So it talks about vairagya, which is the same as tune out, and talks about jnanam, which is fall in, and sing out, which is bhakti. So the three aspects that the Bhagavatam, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chata Ahitukam. So these are the three things that Srila Prabhupada was able to communicate to them. So Srila Prabhupada would say that I get very angry if somebody comes to me and says I am God. I want to kick him in the face, no matter if I go to hell. In the final days in Vrindavan, he said that my preaching was, I had Bhagavatam in one hand and a club in others. So, so the club was for the Kaitav Dharma, and the Bhagavatam was for the devotees, for the Nirmatsanam Satam. So this was an explanation of the first slide, Dhamma Projita Kaitava Atruparmo. The next is Nirmatsaranam Satam. So Nirmatsaranam means non-envious, and Satam means pure at heart. So Srila Vyasadeva is now establishing the adhikar. What is the qualification of the people who can hear the Bhagavatam? So in the previous verse, by introducing the word Dhimai, he had given us a hint That people who are Brahmanically advanced, the Bhagavatam is meant for it. So here he expands on it, saying that Nirmatsaranam Sata, so that they are non-envious. And non-enviousness is, so it's a quality that is very essential in making spiritual progress. Because essentially the reason we are in the material world is because of our envy. And when we acknowledge it and we try to address it, that's when we start making, that's when we become qualified to start making progress. In 9.1, Krishna says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjun, because you're non-envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge. So at the end of the Gita in 1871, Arjun says, one who listens, Krishna says to Arjun, one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free of sinful reactions. And again, in 1867, he says, this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. So why is Krishna so envious of envious people? That's a question, right? Because Krishna is the father. And why is he hiding the Bhagavad Gita from the envious people? Why is he saying that the Bhagavatam is meant for Nirmatsaranam Satam? He says Nirmatsaranam first. That Satam is pure-hearted. First he says Nirmatsaranam. This is meant for non-envious people. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.25, he says Nam Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavrata Muro Yam Na Bijanati Loko Mam Yam Avyaya. He says, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. He hides behind the curtain of Maya. So why is Krishna so scared of envious people? That he hides behind the curtain of Maya. He keeps the Bhagavad Gita away from them. He keeps the Srimad Bhagavatam away from them. And the reason is that Krishna is a person. So as a person, for him to tolerate envy is very difficult. So as people, we can have many rasas with other people. We can have one of humor, we can have one of teasing, we can even have one of competition. But the rasa that is most difficult to digest is that of envy. And that is why when Krishna sees jivas that are envious to him, he hides from them. Because the nature of envy is that, so the snake is considered amongst animals to be a personification of envy. And what's the nature of snake? You give it milk, it produces poison. The better milk you give, the better quality poison it will produce. That's the nature of envious people. They will take Bhagavad Gita and they will use it to show that Krishna is impersonal. They will take Srimad Bhagavatam and they will use it to show that it is okay to have sex life with many girls, because that's what the Bhagavatam says. So the nature of envious people is that the more potent material that you will give to them, the more potent poison they will create for themselves and for others. And who is this then? If it is if the Nirmatsaranam condition is met, then what else is needed? Satam. Satam means that they are pure-hearted. Pure-hearted, different points Prabhupada would explain, would be like the heart of a child. The one that does not have a lot of anger or hatred or distrust in it. Pure-hearted means that one that is not contaminated with lust. So the qualification that this verse is talking about to read the Bhagavatam is Nirmatsaranam Satam. So I'm going to stop over here because we have 15 minutes left, and I know it's in the middle of the verse, and unfortunately I'm falling short of my own targets. I was hoping to do this and the next verse, but I feel it's important to do justice. So I'll stop over here and I'll see if we have any questions or comments. I've already taken a bit of time. We have about 10 minutes left.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hemnath Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, like, is that the non-envious that Krishna talks about in Bhagavad Gita? That I'll tell you, you are non-envious, so I'm telling you this secret. All that. It's just because like they take this and take Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam and misinterpret and give a misdirection to the society, or any other reasons beyond these. It was very nice to hear that. I never had this. Thank you, Prabhu, for such a nice and deep study.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, so your question is that Krishna is stressing on the non-envious aspect because he does not want his words to be misinterpreted. And yes, that is the reason why Krishna he stays away from envious people. See, because the envy that is being the nature of envy is that if I look at somebody that I envy, then the root cause of the envy is that I want to have what the other person has. If I'm going on the road and I'm driving a Mercedes and there's another person who's driving a smaller car, I'm not going to be envious of that person. I'm going to be envious of a person who's driving whatever car more expensive than Mercedes. So I'll say, I would like to have that car. And that's what envy is. So when jivas are envious to Krishna, the root cause of the envy is that I want to be Krishna. Now, in a way, all of us have that envy because we are in the material world for that reason. That we have that envy in it, that we want to be Krishna, or we want to have a position like Krishna. But yet, so the fact that we have this material body, the fact that we are the subject to the three modes means that envy is there. We may not see it; it may be buried deep. It is there. But yet we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? The difference is that we recognize that envy and are working hard to address it. So that makes us suitable candidates. So we are nirmat saranam in a way that even though we are not completely devoid of envy, we have recognized the fact that there is a problem in us and we are working to address it. But there is another group of people who will refuse to recognize the fact that they have any envy towards Krishna. But yet, they are operating on the platform of envy. And symptomatically, what these people do is that when they are presented with transcendental literature, they will distort it in a way that will suit their positions. And the Bhagavad Gita is a classic example. Bhagavad Gita, from the first verse to the last verse, is about Krishna is God. But when it is shown to people who are envy, then they will distort it to say that actually you are God. Actually, I am God. That's an issue of envy. They will take the instructions and they will use it to present what they aspire to be, which is God. And that is why when Srila Vyasadeva says Nirmat Saranam, he's not saying that people who are completely free from envy are only qualified to read it. Then nobody would be qualified to read it. But what he's saying is that people who are aspiring to be free from envy, people who recognize the fact that they have envy and they would like to be in a state where they're without envy, they are Satam. These are the pure-hearted people who he invites to read the Bhagavatam. Does that help, Hemnath Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prem Kishore Prabhu.
Prabhu, can I talk in this one?
Yes, Prabhu.
I have, yeah. So my question here is, we spoke about the cheating, cross-level cheating and the cheating. Right? My question is, as a devotee, we do several levels of devotional service, but how to get identify which what we are doing is a control level cheating, whether it's a DD service or any kind of service which we try to do, but we will not achieve that kind of a perfection. Are we trying to identify that we are cheating ourselves, or we are striving towards doing better? How do we take that?
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. It's a good question. So the difference is, Prabhu, that when we are doing devotional service, most of us are doing it imperfectly. We may be doing it, we may be chanting inattentively, or we may be reading and not reading with full attention, or not able to serve the other Vaishnavas or DT properly. That's not cheating. That is just a symptom of Mishra Bhakti. That if you are able to chant perfectly, that means we are at the platform of Shuddha Bhakti. If you are able to execute devotional service perfectly, that means that there is no contamination. There is no contamination of the modes. So the process that we follow takes us from the stage of being materially anchored to spiritually anchored. And the fact that it's a process means that it goes through different stages. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the stages of bhakti are described. And one of the longest stage of bhakti is anartha, which is basically removing our anarthas. And those anarthas are basically material desires. And as long as anarthas are there, our bhakti will be tainted. So imperfectly executed devotional service is just a symptom of anarthas. It is not a symptom that we are trying to, there's no gross or subtle cheating going on. In fact, the opposite, because Krishna, he is seeing the sincerity of our effort. He's seeing that while we are struggling with our senses, while we are struggling with our past conditioning, we are trying to chant, or we are trying to actions. That is what is the fuel that propels us to make further spiritual advancement. Does that help, Prabhu?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we have time for one last question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Here, Sarangadas.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, the word dimah, can we take it also to meditate?
Mute everyone except you and Karan.
Okay. The word dimahi for meditate, to meditate. Since the Srimad Bhagavatam is about pastime of different, devotee and then Krishna, then is this a sort of meditation as well? We can think about on the pastime.
Absolutely. The meditation of Krishna, it unfolds from Nam to Roop, from Nam to Gun, from Gun to Roop, and Roop to Leela. So we meditate on Krishna's name, and from that name we are able to meditate on his qualities. then on his form, and of course the highest form of meditation is on his pastimes. So we know from the pastimes of pure devotee, especially the Shat Goswamis, that when they would chant, then they would enter into Krishna Leela in the spiritual world. So that was Dhimahi for them, that they would actually enter into the Krishna Leela and they would witness loving pastimes between Krishna and Gopas and Gopis and his parents, and that was their Dhimahi. For us, the Dhimahi is Nam, or some form of name. We try and meditate on Krishna's names. But yes, from Nam to Gun, from Gun to Roop, and then Roop to, if you're fortunate enough, Prabhupada would say that if you keep chanting, I will guarantee you that you will dance with Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. So that is Dhimahi on the pastimes of Krishna. Okay, so I'll end here. We'll resume next week from where we left off this time. Basically the second line of the second verse. And again, I want to apologize for going a little slow. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up later on. Vancha kalpatarubhescha kripa sindhubhevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anant koti vaishnav vrind ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I go. Hare